Welcome back, everyone, to Hearts of Iron 4 Fuhrerreich. So they released on Fate, and some people asked me to play as Italy, and I'm like, well, why not? Because they updated Italy along with a few other countries, but I just know about Italy, so I'm gonna be sneakily, while you do not notice, opening the browser to see exactly who got updated, so that I look more competent than I actually am. Wait, well, there's a lot of game rules that they've added. That's cool. Indian Civil War status, British Raj victory. Oh, okay, that's interesting. A Russian Civil War status. You can make the Russian Republic be a thing. That's kind of weird. Ideology randomizer. I'm not sure that that's the best idea ever. So anyway, we are gonna not strengthen anyone because it's gonna be kind of a trial run to see how Fuhrerreich is going. Yeah, fine. Regular difficulty. It's gonna be really easy, but who cares? Who cares? And first episode is just gonna be me looking around a little bit. I haven't played Fuhrerreich since my Georgia series, I believe. So it's been a few months, and this is definitely going to be kind of a transition series while Equestria at War will be not really dying down, but will be in the latter half, and while Kaiserreich and Old World Blues still aren't updated, and while TNO isn't releasing, so for the next few months, this is going to be the state of affairs, unfortunately. There we are. Kingdom of Italy. Kingdom of Italy. Now, this is really, really good. There's the Hearts of Iron Classic playlist, because I don't like the Fuhrerreich music mod all that much. It's filled with copyright songs, and the ones that aren't copyrighted do tend to repeat quite a little bit. Anyway, apparently they have... wait, hold on. No, that's not what I was looking for. I was looking for 0.3. Apparently France has a new focus tree, Italy has a new focus tree, Soviet Union got a few fixes, Georgia got a few fixes, and just a couple of, seems like map reworks. So that's basically about it. Anyway, so Italy. I'm gonna show the focus tree, which is the more interesting part, a little bit later. First, we do the obvious stuff. Now, I do want to... what do I want to go for? What can we go for? Like, let's try to do a little bit of a radically different playstyle from usually. We have chromium. We could go like heavy tanks, which is not something I usually do. So let's try heavy tanks. Let's try to be a heavy tank maniac this time. And land doctrine. We're gonna hold heavy tanks and ships, just to be YOLO. Now, I don't believe heavy tanks like really get... they do get tanks bonuses, so I guess mobile warfare would be the best. Or maybe grand battle plan. I don't really have anything specific for tanks. So yeah, whatever. Let's try to just rush for that armor spearhead. Yeah, fine. Let's do something a little bit different, shall we? Military factories or civilian factories? How many civilian... Ooh, we do have some civilian factories. That is cool. So... yeah, let's try to optimize this as much as possible. Just build them in the places where we have things, which I know doesn't really make any sense, but whatever. You're gonna understand. How long does this take? It's half a year, so it's gonna... let's just do a year. Wow, that actually takes a long time. Anyway, let's do four of these. Actually, no, never mind. Let's do, so right now we have 17, obviously that's not going to change, so 20, 23, let's go up to 25. civies. How many am I building? I have no idea. 3, 6, 9. There we go. No. And then the rest are going to be militaries. You know, when the time comes, the time comes. Military factories. We are producing a little bit of everything, which is not exactly the greatest thing in the world. So we're fine with most of this, but we don't care about the interwar bomber. We do like the naval bomber 1 though, so get a little bit of extra production on that. We do like the interwar fighter. And wouldn't mind a little bit of extra artillery at the start so that we can get all our divisions upgraded with that. And then we don't have any ships in production, which is weird. So I guess a battleship. Apparently our tier 2 lacks design modules, so yeah, we have tier 2s, but we cannot build them unless we're talking about cruisers and submarines. Submarines, never bad. And then that 1 extra can go on a convoy. Fine. There we go. Army. Okay, then we get everything else a little bit later. So, focus tree. Focus tree is big, as you can see. And of course we're gonna get, like, all the weirdo events. Thanks. Oh, wow. Actually, quite a bit of stuff. There's, like, the Entente. I like to see all news events. There's all the Entente decisions. Recognize the Soviet Union. Nationalized industries. Yeah, there's the standard ones. Service propaganda and political stuff. So that's fine. Anyway, so Italy. We have Victor Emmanuel III, colonial overextension, because we have all these places. We have political radicalization, which is going to decrease support for mainstreamers. Stagnation of UPI, which is the Partito Popolare Italiano, the ruling social democratic sort of Christian reformist party, headed by Don Luigi Sturzo, who is a very important figure in Italian politics, IRL. And we are a leader of the Entente Council. So let's take the future of the People's Party. Damn, this is going to take a long, long time. So we are going to we're going to take a look at the focus tree, and then more than likely just skip ahead. So weird how we didn't get like a lore event or anything like that. So anyway, the lore for Italy and Fuhrerreich is that they did get a little bit more of the territories that they wanted in the First World War. Oh no, okay, the Kingdom of Italy. So, in 1914, Europe was finding itself embroiled in the first major war of the 20th century. Italy remained neutral, at least initially. The Pact of London promised Italy land in the Balkans in exchange for military support against the Central Powers in Germany and Austria-Hungary. So this is what I was going to talk about, essentially. Ooh, socialist control. Oh, we're going to take a look at that later. So essentially, this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. So essentially, in the real-life First World War, Italy was denied a lot of the possessions that it was promised in the Pact of London, which was a secret treaty between the UK and the Italians that made the Italians join the First World War against Austria and Germany. It promised a whole bunch of Austro-Hungarian lands in the eastern coast of the Adriatic to Italy, the so-called terre irredente, or ungiven lands, essentially lands that Italian nationalists claimed as Italian, but, you know, weren't under Italian control from the Wars of Independence. So, because of the failure of the Italian diplomacy to actually get these lands, a lot of Italian nationalists ended up supporting fascism. In this, that didn't happen, so the Kingdom of Italy is still a democracy, or at least a flawed democracy, as the Italian Kingdom had been since, 1861, since its inception, all the way to 1922, which is the year the fascists took over IRL. Obviously, you know, also different things happened in the Fuhrerreich world as a whole, but that's the basic premise. With this agreement, Italy has joined the Entente Cordiale, dragging her people into a war that many were sure would be over by Christmas. Despite seemingly being on the edge of collapse after several recent defeats, Austria-Hungary put up a formidable defense against the Italians. The Italian front collapsed into the same stalemate scene as in France. It took the Entente until 1919 to defeat the Central Powers, but even as victor, Italy was not unscathed. Social strife that had been building in Italy for years exploded as soldiers returning from the front were welcomed back to a home that could not provide for them. Italy's economy crashed. As Italy's economy crashed, the Socialists, emboldened by the Russian Revolution, occupied the factories and fought the police in an era now known as the Red Biennium, or the Biennio Rosso in Italian, which was, in fact, a real thing. From 1919 to 1920, there was this big wave of socialist agitation, factory occupation, strikes, social movements that were, of course, inspired by the Russian Revolution in 1917, and weakened by sort of the prior failure of the Italian socialist movement to really establish itself into a unified party. Because of all the splits that they had during the war, it was just a complete mess on both camps. In response, the nationalists formed their own squadre d'azione, action squads, action teams, as a paramilitary force to deal with this threat. Now, in real life, these right-wing paramilitaries were the squadristi, as said over here, the squadrist, the teamsters, and they were organized by the fascist party. So these people became essentially the Italian version of what would later be the SA and SS for the Germans. As the prospect of civil war grew on the horizon, time for compromise and reform was needed more than ever. Once the United Socialist Party was divided on how to proceed with their goal to liberate the workers, leading to Amadeo Bordiga and Antonio Gramsci to break off and form the Communist Party of Italy, which is pretty much what happened in real life as well. The left wing of Italy never recovered from this division, allowing the recently formed Italian People's Party, led by the clerical socialist Luigi Sturzo, to make a compromise with the more moderate Italian Socialist Party, which was the mainstream Italian left-wing party for a long time. Several reforms supported by both parties expanded the rights of the workers between Italy, including the rights including the right to vote for all Italian adults, as well as legal protections for Italy's new minorities gained as a result of the Great War. While this era of compromise has brought stability and economic growth to Italy through the 20s, its positive effect has begun to vanish. The PPI's Big Tent political stance no longer appeals to the party's demographic. Sturzo's left-wing policies have increasingly put him at odds with the party's Catholic faction, led by the conservative Alcide De Gasperi, who in real life went on to essentially found the Italian Republic after 1946, and become the, one of the leading figures, essentially, of Italian centrism for decades, or at least, inspiring. As the politics within Italy grew increasingly radical, the PPI must adapt to the changing times or be lost to history. Long live Italy. So the Catholic fight. Luigi Sturzo's left-wing policies were seen as a breath of fresh air immediately after the Great War. But as the need for reforms has dwindled within Italy, the conservative Catholic faction of the PPI has made its demands increasingly clear. Our compromise with the moderate socialists is very unpopular with them, as they see Marxist theory to be antithetical to Catholic teachings. The growth of the far-right movement in Italy is also seen by many as a sign that the nation is in need of strong and reasonable conservative voice, which fellow PPI deputy Alcide De Gasperi wishes to capitalize on. Sturzo and his supporters, though, believe that compromise with the nationalists will only lead Italy to internal conflict, as seen as the Red Biennium of the 20s. So either update its politics, not abandon its principles, which is going to be citing social democracy, or Gasperi does make some good points. Now, I myself wouldn't mind trying to play with the crazy people, crazy right wing. So honestly, I have absolutely no idea what I really should be picking over here. But yeah, essentially, like, if you take a look, you see that Italian foreign policy gets pretty cancerous if you pick certain people, and I definitely want to pick certain people to be cancerous, especially Valkists. That's what I want to try to do, the Nationalist Coalition. But, you know, I have no real idea, like, which one of these would be best. It kind of sounds like it would be better to stick with Sturzo to get more nationalism. So let's you know, be social democratic. Fine, social democracy. So I guess a pretty good time to talk about essentially why this is the case. It's actually relatively realistic. Like, it's obviously different from real life, but it's actually relatively realistic how there's like a couple of centrist factions that have a lot of influence. Because this is essentially what happens in real life after 46. So Italian politics was always very heavily influenced by the heavily Catholic, you know, heavily Catholic nature of the country. So everything that wasn't really heavily left-wing was, in some way or the other, heavily inspired or influenced by Catholics, even though Catholics technically aren't supposed to engage in politics, you know, the actual clergy. There were a lot of Catholic-inspired movements, and so there was always this split within, you could say, the Italian center-left between secular left and Catholic left, and obviously the Catholics being the more moderates. So even in like the trade union movement, you have, you know, the red trade unions or the white trade unions, white being Catholics, red being the socialist or communist. And, you know, later on there were even many attempts to reconcile, you know, Catholic social teachings with socialist ideology, whether or not, you know, that actually makes any sense or not. At the same time, there's also obviously, you know, a much more conservative Catholic wing on the right wing. And these two, like center left and center right, were the basis of what eventually becomes known as the Christian democracy, which was this kind of big tent party that dominated Italian Republican politics. But in the days of the kingdom, really the split was between a sort of mildly Catholic left and a very Catholic right. And the left, in this case, being liberals, actually. Now, in the world of Fuhrerreich, this left turns more into social democratic because of, you know, the few different paths that Italian politics take. But in real life, it was more liberal, and it led to the domination of people like Giovanni Giolitti, but, you know, we don't have time to talk about that. Anyway, we have a couple of events, the Kufra incident, and the pressure from the socialist left. So the Social Democrats and the Christian Socialists have been a core of the PPI since the Red Biennium and have begun to pressure the party to adopt more hardline progressive policies. Italy has made much progress in the last decade, but it is still the poorest of the great powers. In southern Italy, poverty is rampant, while the north has begun to face growing unemployment. The PPI must be committed to real political change if it wishes to solve these issues, so either we must be sliding towards communism or we must promise reforms. One of these things is gonna increase libertarian popularity. Now, libertarian in this one is not like, you know, not economic libertarianism. It's actually sort of socialist, although here it's, see, it's saying the Italian socialists are libertarians, even though not exactly. Like, libertarian socialism was a really big thing in the early 20s, but, you know, can't really get into that. Fine, commies. And now the Kufra incident. Recently, it has come to the attention of Rome that our commander in Libya, Italo Balbo, has led, and we have him as a general, so I can show who this guy is. Oh wow, we have some weird people as generals. Yeah, here he is, Italo Balbo, this guy. Has led an unsanctioned and illegal invasion into British-controlled Egypt. I meshed up Egypt and Libya to crush the Senussi order, which was a militant Libyan tribal / religious group that was essentially resisting the Italian colonial occupation. whom have been leading a guerrilla conflict against Italian forces in Libya for nearly a decade. While the invasion in question did lead to the capture of the Senussi leader Omar Mukhtar, it has put us at odds with the British Empire. To avoid further amplifying the conflict, Britain, on the behest of the Sultan of Egypt, demands what? Demands to make an official apology over the incident and respect Egypt's border in the future. Okay. Italy stands behind their commanders. Yeah, of course. Anyway, so what is this thing? Socialist control Emilia-Romagna. Socialist militias, unions, and other leftist organizations control a major portion of the state's economic and administrative sectors, hampering Rome's ability to control the region. This is really cool. Really, really cool, because it does kind of represent the situation in the 20s in real-life Italy, and because fascism never took over. So essentially a lot of this trade union control that it's talking about, and militias, and, you know, consumer unions, cooperatives, all this stuff. A lot of this was eventually eradicated by violent means, by fascism, in northern Italy, in Tuscany, in Piedmont. Well, it seems like the National Syndicalists, which are, you know, the stand-in for the fascists, the Valkist people, are controlling the south. Okay, okay. Now that's not as really accurate, but whatever, we're gonna roll with it. You know, the southern Italy was always more conservative, generally more right-leaning than northern Italy, but that's just you know, down to the different economic structures. Agrarian syndicates. So yeah, we're gonna stop like just doing everything, and I'm going to I'm gonna skip ahead from now on, so you know everything is a little bit more understandable and compact. So yeah, see you in a bit. So, the first focus is finished, the future of the People's Party, and there we go. So, a recent meeting of delegates between from the Partito Popolare Italiano came to a head as the growing conservative and progressive factions could not agree on a unified campaign direction for the upcoming election. Alcide De Gasperi even accused current PPI chairman Luigi Sturzo of purposely undermining and dividing the party. Without a unified PPI, the moderate coalition that has led Italy since the 20s may fall apart, letting the country fall into the hands of extremists. So fine. Let's say Sturzo remains secretary, Gasperi abandons the PPI. Okay. Sorry, I just had to murder mosquito. So this would create the Partito Socialista Democratico Italiano, which would be the Social Democrats. And the PPI would be the ruling Conservative Party, while this makes the Social Conservatives become the Democrazia Cristiana. Okay. Now this also increases the popularity of socialism by quite a bit. Well, this only increases the popularity of conservatism and reduces stability a little bit. So there we go. Italo Balbo returns from Libya. General Balbo has landed in Rome today after his last victory in Cyrenaica. Thanks to his war effort, we can now finally exercise control over the whole Libyan region. The usual greeting for an occasion like this is the blessing from the hand of the king and a meeting. But General Balbo is considered to be dangerous by many. He and his Associazione Nazionalista Italiana party have a history of political violence. Now the ANI, which again in Italian is really fucking funny, if you've watched any of my Kaiserreich, you know why, have a history of political violence, blah 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 blah. During the Red Biennium, the ANI's paramilitary brigades, the Blue Shirts, have attacked socialist and state police. He claims to have changed since those tumultuous times, but his recent autocratic attitude shown in Libya is seen as many opponents by a sign that his continued violent leadership. What should we do now? He shall receive a hero's welcome. Yeah, of course, we want to be the Nazis, so yeah. Or I guess the Fash XD. So that's okay. That's gonna unlock the parts of the Libyan focus stream. which we're gonna check out in a little bit. Navies. Navies tend to be useful. Oh, we can do super battleship hull. We're gonna do super battleships. More armor. Yeah, if we're gonna do super battleships, I figured this would be pretty useful, right? Yeah, I definitely want to research more ships. You're gonna see why when we see the foreign policy. Average Entente members confidence 60%. Looks like there's a new mechanic for the Entente as well, but haven't had the time to look at that. And of course, since we want to be the Fash, we're not exactly going to be playing with the Entente now, are we? So anyway, the focus stream, other than the political lines, which are down here, and they're pretty diminutive because they want you to spend more time looking at the other things, it looks like, which sounds pretty okay. And there goes the usual Portuguese Civil War. There's economic reforms and the socialist economy, so that's, you know, that's the two different parts. I'm guessing if, you know, you've taken the socialist coalition over here, that, you know, the socialist coalition will result in you taking the socialist economy, while everything else results in economic reforms. Then, if you're a social democrat, you take this. Oh, actually, no. If you're a nationalist, you have the Italian economic war. Actually, can you be Valkist? Purge the socialist, corporatist syndicalism, proclaim the Italian Republic. Yeah, okay. So you become fascist. Now, if you're wondering why I'm using the term fascist, is because the Valkist party is called the Fasci Italiani del Sindacalismo Nazionale, so the Italian fasces of the national syndicalism. So fasces is just, you know, a term for like a weird thing that Roman law enforcers basically used to symbolize that they had state power or whatever. This bundle that in Italian is called fascio. Bundle of sticks with axes and stuff like that. Christian Democrats aligned with the Nationalists. This is exactly what I wanted. Just 20 years and liberal will become a conservative without changing a single idea. That's kind of funny. So yeah, march to the right wing, blah blah blah. Gasperi, who championed himself as a moderate, believes that this party's action was needed if traditional Italian culture is to be preserved. That's fucking hilarious, since in real life he was one of the people that defascisticized Italy. We're not going to recognize the Soviet Union, of course. And then you go down. You know, it's kind of sad. You know, the national populists, they don't really get to do much, like, compared to the other people. They have more economic focuses. Anyway, then it looks like if you're a Valkist or something, you can reform the Charter of Carnaro, which is weird. It's time to reform the Charter of Carnaro. I'm sure at some point we're gonna get a bit of an explanation as to what that is. Hello? What's happening? Something big is happening because the game is crashing. Fuck. The game actually crashed. Anyway, it's the 4th of June, and yeah, I can just go back to the 1st of June, and in the next episode, we're gonna be taking a look at, you know, elections and stuff. So yeah, see you then.